Hello, KKP players. My name is Lewis or Lickety, and with me today I have John. Usually we record this on a Friday, but today is a Monday, and the reason for that is because this is a very special segment, and that is because we're talking about a game that John's been reviewing, but unfortunately we couldn't talk about it on during our last recording because it was just a bit too early. But hopefully this video comes out after the embargo for the game on the 23rd. So, John, do you want to tell us about the game you've been reviewing?
Yeah, so I want to correct you right there. It's been not just one episode I couldn't talk about. There are like 2-3 episodes I couldn't
Oh, yeah,
talk
that is
about.
right. Yeah. It's been like 2 episodes, actually, yeah.
So it's a JRPG called Clair Obscur Expedition 33. We previewed the game a month or so ago, but we've got like a awesome full build. Thank you so much for Bandai Namco Southeast Asia for handling the distribution for the PS5 version and trusting us with the code pretty early. So by the time this episode is out, the embargo should have lifted by then. We should be on the 23rd of April nighttime. Or worst case scenario, when the game comes out, 24th April at about 3 p.m. or so.
Yeah, around that time, yeah.
Yeah. So, Lewis, you played a couple of hours of it, and what
Yeah.
were your thoughts when you previewed the game on your side?
I think if anyone knows anything about me, is that I don't really like turn-based games. The only turn-based games I do enjoy and will invest time into is Pokemon. But this was one that really piqued my interest because not only is it a kind of JRPG inspired type of game by a Western studio, a French studio to be specific.
Yes.
But because one, it also had a star-studded cast. Featuring the likes of Charlie Cox and even like Ben Starr, and then also because graphically it looks phenomenal. It looks absolutely incredible, and to me, like just the fidelity of it all is what makes this game in particular very appealing. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't play it as much as you did, but and I also haven't touched it since, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess with you being the one that's being in charge of reviewing it, what are your thoughts on it so far?
This game, I'm gonna use the word you said right there, phenomenal. This is what it means to make a double A video game experience where it's priced just right. You've got a lot of hours for a single player JRPG. You've got a lovely bunch of characters you want to be with and hang around in this very dangerous voyage. And the gameplay itself is really good. It's really, really sublime. Like, it teaches you a lot of what you need to know at the start. And then it throws a bunch of curveballs to test you, gameplay-wise, design-wise, with different kinds of bosses and whatnot. And if you feel like you want to challenge yourself, there are a bunch of super bosses you can fight in other corners of the map or in the dungeons that you're in. And just like any hallmark of JRPG, it is linear, but you can also, when you get to certain points of the game, especially near the end of it, you can definitely check out bits and pieces of areas you want to really explore, or like a side option dungeon that you want to find new treasure at. That's what it offers you pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So just to recap, just to let everybody know on the watching, the game itself, it's 30 hours long. I managed for average player. I'm not an average player, so I've completed about like 25 hours per se. Got through a lot. Obviously the story mode is finished. I've gone through some of the optional stuff, mostly the character driven important stuff, that the quest that fleshes out the backstory of characters, similar to Chrono Trigger back in 1995. And just to reiterate what you said, the art style is very painteresque, very canvas-like, all painting coming to life with the film grain, the filter, the way when you hit enemies, the way that bad guys will actually gather up these blotches of paint called chroma. Chroma is a power-up in the game, magic, which they can launch as attacks to your face.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, the combat itself, it's like you said, it's turn-based. Now, it's active as it can get, because when it's your turn, whenever you do a special attack using skill points, which you gain by, attacking, doing commands, or getting hurt, you have to press, there'll be like a little meter that pops up. That little timer thing, you gotta hit it when it's at the yellow part of the meter. Otherwise, your attacks either miss or they can blow up in your face. For the earlier parts, the attacks just deal regular damage, but for like the high level attacks, if you miss the inputs, they fail automatically.
Right.
So it's like a huge risk reward thing. And the timings for each attacks are different. So sometimes it can be like tap tap or tap 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 or many variations of that basically.
Yeah.
It tap once and then a delay and then another tap. And when enemies attack you, you can dodge the attacks, avoid. You can take the damage like a champ, or you could just avoid it, dodge it, or you can parry it. Now, if you parry an enemy's full sequence of attacks, you can do a very powerful counter attack. And that's not all. Just when it actually throws a bunch, just when you actually get the hang of the dodging and the parrying, the game throws a bunch of curveballs later on, where there's a bunch of attacks where enemies will do maybe like a big sweeping attack, and an icon pops up. You have to jump when the icon pops up, and then you can counter attack by pressing the R2 or the R2. I'm playing on the PlayStation, by the way, the R2.
Right, okay.
And there are enemies who can launch gradient attacks. These are supercharged attacks. They usually kill you in one hit, but the telegraph is very, very obvious. So when the enemy rears up, the screen turns gray. There's a bit of a slowdown effect. After that effect is done, then the attack hits you.
Okay.
When you have to use a special gradient parry for that, which is another button that you have to press.
Right.
Press that, you do a gradient counter, hits hard, but it's the only thing that can counter a gradient attack.
Okay.
And your party members, like how Cloud has the climb hazard and all the super attacks he has in Final Fantasy 7 and 7 Remake. The Clair Obscur Expedition 33 group has that too. They call it gradient attacks, which you get. So when you build up meter by attacking, blocking, parrying, etc., all the commands you do on the screen as a character builds up the gradient meter. Once it's like a level 1, you can do a level 1 gradient attack, which is usually a super powered attack, no delay, and you can also do another action after doing the gradient attack. So you can actually do a gradient attack, and then you can follow up with another command, whether it's a special attack, basic attack, or using an item.
Okay.
And let's see a couple more things. Let's see, because I'm also looking at my notes too, just to make sure that's a very big game, like 20, 30 hours, right? And if you want to get like the level 2 and level 3 gradient attacks, you may need to actually start talking to your companions. So you can actually set up camp when you're outside of the dungeons. And at the campsite, you can actually get your weapons repaired thanks to the help of this guy called the Curator. I think you might have seen the Curator in your demo. Like, you go to a mansion, there's a guy with like a no face. He basically fixes your weapons and fixes your potions and whatnot if you have the ingredients and the items needed. That's the part where you can also talk to your companions, and then you get to find out about what they are and all that, fleshed out for both the viewers like myself and finding out more also on the relationship, and also find out more about backstory. They're really good characters you want to hang out with. Like Mael, she is an outsider in her own town, so when she actually joins the expedition at a young age, then she feels more and more at home, comfortable with the outside world more.
Right.
So I think there's one thing I forgot to mention. So the expedition is done because they want to stop this woman called the Paintress, who basically paints a countdown timer from 100 to a lower number. It's now at 33. So anyone who is like 34 and above all die through this process called the Gommage, where they disappear via petal of roses, disappear and then they become a petal of roses and shit.
Yeah.
So the expedition is out there to, try to defeat the Paintress, and if they cannot, they leave notes for the next expedition to come in and so forth and so forth.
Right.
So there's been like 67 of these. Yeah. So now you're the 33rd. So you got a bunch of 33-year-olds, and I believe Mael is 18 or 19 or so, joining you in the quest to defeat this Paintress. Okay. So of course everything goes horribly wrong in the journey, and then you're stuck in an island as Gustav, the main character, and you gotta go find your party members, who consist of Lune. Lune is a spellcaster. She has a pretty cool mechanic where she casts spells, she gets like stains, icons.
Yep.
And you can use those icons to power up your other spells. So let's just say you got like 2 red stains. You get to use a lightning attack that if you have 2 red stains, you deal twice more damage or thrice more damage.
Yeah.
And you basically have a lot of spells you can unlock that actually makes use. They make sure Lune spells make sure that you actually diversify your limited 6 slot of attacks so that you have the right amount. Because you got your basic attack in addition to your 6 skills. Your 6 skills can be anything you want. So you can basically just combine, mix and match. And better to have your fire spells or your lightning spells so that they complement each other. And you can even have a really cool spell where basically if you have 4 stains, that spell deals a lot of damage. It doesn't matter what color they are.
Okay.
That's on the skill tree you can unlock. So the skill trees are all in different branches. You can go up, down, left, right, or in different variations.
Yeah.
So you get to pick your path and where you want to go.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. And
Yeah,
you
it
also
is,
get to equip your characters with pictos. These are like little 3 slots. These are little items to give you health boosts and also a special perk. Usually a picto is like an artifact that gives you like passive buffs, like you parried your counter attacks deal twice more damage or 3 times more damage and so forth.
Okay.
Or special ones where basically if you get hit, you get AP, you get action points.
Okay.
But you cannot get action points from parrying. So they can switch up your character playstyle. In addition, the pictos also will grant you a health boost, speed boost, critical, like equipment lah, basically.
Yeah.
And
the majority. Yeah, go on.
And once you fight 3 or 4 battles with that picto, you can actually use that skill for everyone. So you actually okay. So there's this little resource called a Luminous or Luminous. So these allow you to equip passive abilities from the pictos that you leveled up.
Right, okay, yeah, this is ringing a bell, okay.
Yeah. So once you use a picto 3 times on your character, that ability is available for everyone if you have the right amount of Luminous. So say you have 10 Luminous, so that ability like a counter parry will be available for you, for everyone.
Okay.
It usually costs about 5 points. But obviously the higher level ones that break the game will cost like 20 Luminous or 30 Luminous.
Yeah.
So far the highest for me has been 20, and that basically makes you start first in the combat.
Okay.
Yeah, which
right.
is very useful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay, this might be minor spoilers or a bit of warning, but don't worry, it's not story. There'll be a Luminate ability from a picto that actually exceeds your damage beyond 9999.
Oh.
But you only get this late in the game.
Okay.
You will get it. It's very easy to get it. I'm not gonna say how, but you basically need to try really hard not to get this picto.
Okay.
But it is a pretty cool throwback to Final Fantasy VIII, where you actually get to wear a Guardian Force that actually exceeds your damage beyond 9999. So to have it as an object that pays tribute to FF8 is kind of cool, kind of cute.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Sandfall Interactive's game, Expedition 33. It is a huge nod to all the Final Fantasy games they've played and all the turn-based JRPGs. I think the closest comparison would be Lost Odyssey from... it was an Xbox 360 game. Hopefully you've touched it.
No, I haven't.
It's a really awesome JRPG. It's
Okay.
And the artwork is done by the guy who did Vagabond and Slam Dunk.
Okay.
Keita Inoue? That guy. That artist.
Yeah.
But if you know Slam Dunk and his art style, you know that JRPG looks very peak. I know it's the most common word to use, but that's peak art right there. Anime and real life colliding, you know?
Yeah.
So this Clair Obscur reminds me of that because the characters are realistic. The art style is very painter-esque and for very good reason, and that's very... It all ties in narratively as well too. Whatnot, because you're fighting a villainess called the Paintress. So, you know, I guess she's shitting out all these things from a art board and canvas or whatnot, so you gotta defeat those chumps and whatnot called Nevrons.
Yeah.
You even get to fight monsters called Gestrels. Some are fierce, but some are friendly enough to build their own village. In fact, you actually get a Gestrel as a party member.
Okay.
This is not a spoiler because this character was actually on the official trailers. It's this dude named Monoko. He's actually a tribute to Final Fantasy games too, because his special skill is turning into other Nevrons to fight against enemies.
Okay.
This is a blue mage skill. Like, you take skills from enemies and use it as your own. This guy literally transforms into the monster he stole, whose move he steals from. He collects enemies' feats to, you know, cast those spells.
Right.
So he's a bit of a sicko, collecting animal feet just to become the beast and shit.
Yeah.
Cute. And the game is obviously very, very French in its humor, its storytelling, and its presenting, showing, known, tell sort of like motif and everything. So.
Yeah, I mean the amount of the compilations I've seen of just like Gustav like saying "merde" or like just like swearing.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of putain and merde, on it. That's Charlie Cox's voice, by the way.
Yeah.
He basically is a British guy speaking with a British accent, not because Daredevil is using an American accent,
Yeah.
pretending to be aggressively French in the game. So it's really funny just to hear that. You'll get lots of that too. Ben Starr is also a prominent character in the game. I won't say his role so much. I mean, he says he's a character named Verso, and according to the trailer we saw, he's a nobody. Nobody, basically. So
Right.
he is a very pivotal character. I won't say how or when or why, but when you see him, you got to hear his talking and all that. You could say that the voice actors Jennifer English and Shyla Nix and Charlie Cox, they do love playing the characters in this game. Really lovely stuff. So you can tell the passion, the voice, and also the mocap work and the facial expressions and whatnot. Really, really awesome stuff. I mean, I guess I could talk about some bad things. I mean, there are some bugs, definitely.
Right.
Like some graphical glitches. I turned off motion blur on the PS5 version. I wanted on performance mode because, come on, you can't play a game on 30 frames per second this day and age, right?
Yeah, it outdated.
I'm very sure this game will work really well on the PlayStation Pro, but I'm on the PS5 amateur, so playing this game on 60 frames per second is great and all, but there are some glitches that pop up.
Okay.
Yeah, especially when it comes to fighting certain enemies, where it's really hard to read the telegraphs, so you need to have the text to help you out. Every enemy attack has a text that accompanies them, like enemy X is doing a fast attack, or enemy XY is doing a fast relentless combo. Sometimes that doesn't show up, and then I can't tell unless I see the attack at the very last minute. And usually by that time, I miss my parry, and then I eat the damage like a sucker. So there are some errors like that happening. Hopefully that gets patched out. And I think those are the only errors. Oh, maybe one more thing. There is you only get to, upgrade your weapons in camp. You cannot do it at the save spots because they are like flags you see along the way. Those are your save spots. You can change up your skills. You can save, of course, and you can change your pictos left and right and change up the skills. But you cannot upgrade your items and your healing potions and your resurrection potions.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can do it later in the game, just not at the start and then in the middle.
Right. Okay.
Story reasons and shit lah, basically.
All right, makes sense.
And also I like the way the game handles items, where you don't have to buy like 99 of the same items. You basically get like 5 healing potions, 5. I mean, you start off with 2, and then you can upgrade it to 3, 4, 5. Your healing potions, your action point giving potions, and your resurrection potions. Your Phoenix Downs, basically. You can refill them. You can refill them at the save points.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're not gonna run out. Basically, there's no situation where you have to go back to the store and buy 99 of them and then come back again. It's refilled as long as you find a a safe spot.
Yeah.
So it does solve a lot of problems in terms of JRPGs back in the day. It is linear as heck, except it gets open-ended later on, in the style of your Chrono Triggers and your Final Fantasy 6s and whatnot. And I just like some of the nuances and changes they do to make it a very, a fair experience. Like, I was playing this game all the way through in Expedition mode, which is a normal mode. Expert is hard. There is a New Game Plus, and I'm gonna assume that there'll be a higher difficulty after that.
Okay.
I might want to try that when I get some free time. And the pairing and all that is really fair and is really fun to fight. And enemies do hit really hard, but you can level up, no problem. You can even upgrade your items to, match the enemy's power and everything. Like, if you don't actually have to grind that much at all. Like, any enemy you come across the first time you're walking on the path, if you kill each of them, you're good to go to fighting the boss at the end of that line.
Okay.
So it's very fair. There's no situation where the enemy is 10 times my level. I'm gonna have to go back to this previous spot and just farm for XP. You don't have to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
It seems well designed as throughout my entire story experience.
Okay.
The super bosses and the optional enemies are a different story, of course, but generally there are meant to be optional challenges where you have to level up your weapon to level 20 plus to even stand a chance to make a dent at the guy's hit points.
Okay.
I did fight a super boss who basically stunned me so that I cannot parry or dodge and whatnot. You have to avoid that particular attack, otherwise you are dead for the entire fight.
Wow. Okay.
He's just basically gonna maul. It's basically like a headbutt move, where basically It's got a very tricky telegraph. It's got two types of it. If you so much get hit by it, you get stunned. And when you're stunned, you cannot dodge or block or do anything. And usually it takes a turn until it's gone. And the super boss actually has like 3 turns for his actions.
Okay.
So when it's his turn, he gets 3 attacks.
Okay.
That's how fast he is, lah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there are challenges in this game. I think there's a lot more which I haven't uncovered because, again, I went through the straight line, finished it there. There are a lot of challenges here and there. So I'm going to think it's going to be like a 40, 50 hour kind of game. If you want to unlock everything, want to plat everything, I'm like halfway there, basically.
Okay.
So I might want to jump in. Hey, I might actually want to play New Game Plus because, you know, you get to carry your equipment and whatnot. So really nice to play a super powered version of a character when you get in, lah. So
yeah. Fair enough.
Do you have any more questions? Because I've been rambling a lot because I really
yeah.
love the game
To be fair, every time I had a question, you would actually touch that topic I was gonna ask like straight after it, like how the game runs and whatnot.
Sweet.
But I guess you've talked a lot about the game and how you've personally enjoyed it. So I guess that only really leaves the question of I guess how much are you planning on scoring it?
Probably a 90 to 100. Definitely leaning towards 100. I'm still there's still some bugs in the game, but I don't. I got another pet peeve. So there are some attacks you do that when let's say there are like 2 inputs for your attack. When it goes on, when your enemy is dead, the attack still goes on per se. So you basically your opponents you are hitting air in a sense.
Okay.
Later in the game, when you get gradient counters, let's just say when you parry the attack and your enemy gets hurt somehow and he dies. Okay. When you parry when you do the counter attack for the gradient attack, it hits nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's probably my only issue with that. But that's a very rare occurrence because usually when I gradient parry enemies, they don't die halfway during their animations and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I have a skill where basically if enemies hit me, they get hurt.
Okay.
Or if they crit you, they get hurt.
Right.
There are pictos for that. Yes. So that was a very weird instance of my gradient attacks not because the enemy is already dead. So when I gradient counter attack, it hits nothing, and there was actually an enemy next to him. So I was kind of hoping the gradient counter damage would actually transfer to the other guy.
Yeah. Switch target essentially.
I guess not. But that only happened once in my entire 26-hour playthrough. Okay. Not even these kind of bugs, I guess. So maybe I'm leaning towards 100. I guess you see in my written review when it's out the same time as this, but it's between the 90 to 100. But regardless of that score, it is still a high recommendation from me, from KKP, in fact. If you love JRPGs, this is a love letter. If you want to see what Western studios can do when they actually give a shit about the games, not just a live service title, you got this game to prove that to everyone.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, going for 40 US, I think. So
40 US, okay. Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, it sounds like we're really looking at like a possibly at least a Game of the Year nominee.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Looking very, very strong. Like the story themes are very impactful. It deals with grief, loss, love through other means, and so many things, mature things here and there, despite the fact that it's got goofy ass shit like mime costumes and swimsuits you get.
Yeah.
Oh, and the funniest quest I've been through is basically I had to climb a tower. No combat, no nothing, is parkour, climbing
Just
up.
Parkour.
No timer. If you fall down from like the 30th floor, you have to start over the climb all over again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the reward is actually kind of worth it, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So
all right.
There are a lot of funny quests here and there, in addition to the super bosses and everything. So
right.
This is clearly a game made of love, and love for the genre, love for the combat, love for the games that have been influenced by and with, and film culture and French culture in general. I mean, if let's just say a Malaysian or Singaporean did create a game like this with your culture and all that, then you can see the love coming up per se.
Yeah.
You don't need like a AAA or a AA budget. You just need to know the right people and the right time and given the right circumstances to make this sort of title. But to be fair, Stanfall, they got a bunch of backers, I believe, here and there. Angel investors going on. I'm not sure what the situation is. It definitely looks like a AA game. And at least from what I played, there are no major bugs or no major hard crashes on my side. But this is a PS5 version, so maybe for the Xbox and PC version, check out other reviews. But I can tell you the PS5 version is sublime, perfect.
Okay, yeah, definitely. It sounds like it's polished. I mean, even playing the preview was on PC. And it was quite polished. It did run a bit slow for me on the preview. I played it on my sister's computer, which is running a RTX 2060. So a little bit of a dated graphics card, and I can't remember what CPU it's using, but yeah, it was running at I believe it running at a steady 60 FPS, but there were times where it dropped as well. But yeah, all in all, it sounds like it's very much a love letter, right?
Yep, good stuff. That's all I gotta say, man. It's all the positives are out. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33 is definitely gonna be a Game of the Year kind of contender for not just me, but for every other media who finished it by then. And I'm guessing any other players who played it on Game Pass, they're gonna feel the same sentiment too.
Awesome. Alrighty then. Well, I guess that's it then. We've heard John's thoughts about Clair Obscur. If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to like, subscribe if you want to see more content just like this, and obviously ding dong that notification bell to be notified when we upload next, because we upload videos every single week. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you, John, for coming on and talking about this. And I guess we'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao for now.